This evening, we will discuss the dire immigration situation on the US-Mexico border, where thousands are entering in recent weeks, leading to what appears to be a crisis situation. To discuss this, our guest this evening is Yuri Tabach, former Chief of Staff of the NATO Military Liaison Mission in Moscow. Good evening, Yuri. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. Always a pleasure to be in the TVP world.
I'd like to take us back a few steps, actually, because there's so much going on all over the world in terms of the migration crisis. So if you could just take us a few steps back and tell us what is the root of this current immigration crisis on the US-Mexico border?
Unfortunately, Maria, I think, again, that the root of all the problems is our politicians. It's a politics and a fight for power. And the politicians don't spare anything, including the people, their lives, the refugees, the immigrants, the Ukrainian lives. It happened to Poland many times throughout the history. And right now in the United States, in our struggle for power, in our struggle in competition for the Congress and for the White House, these unfortunate people are being used for that reason. And if the previous administration and the previous or a party that is now in majority in Congress is against illegal immigration, then the current administration is for the illegal immigration, for open borders, so these people can come in and vote. And unfortunately, these people are being abused on the way to the United States at the border and when they arrive. Except New York is overwhelmed. And in New York, these people cannot be placed. They're living on the streets and the tents at the airports. So I know a case where a U.S. veteran, was removed from a resting home to place a family of refugees. They're renting hotels that are up to $500 a room to place these people. And these people are also, among them, there are a lot of criminals that come across because they're being unvetted. And a lot of those people are being abused by the criminals on both sides of the border and in New York because they're easy prey. So that it is very, very unfortunate. And then, of course, they're used as a bargain chip to balance our budget. So unfortunately, in order to balance our budget for at least for the next 45 days, Ukrainian assistance had to be sacrificed and give up to help Ukraine for the 45 days and assist them. And we know that Mexican president is now blackmailing our administration, saying that stop wasting your money on Ukraine. Ukraine is far away. Help Latin America, or otherwise we'll send more refugees down your way because your borders are open. Actually, it is very strange that we have a nation, the strongest nation in the world, that has open borders.
The situation in the U.S. is very difficult now. I mean, you've got the elections that are coming up, but the U.S. is essentially moving away from its image of a superpower because it's riddled with so many problems. But the immigration debate is very difficult wherever you have it, whichever country you have it in, because there is always that counter argument, which is, you need to help those who are in need. But as you say, you've described a few of these situations where, you do have criminals that are coming in, but there are those who are also in need who are coming through the borders. But from a practical point of view, what is the outlook in the U.S. in terms of bringing this under control? Because there are limited resources, as you say. What is the practical outlook of bringing this particular crisis under control?
Well, again, our country is split. We have lots of problems. There's huge war, going on in Europe, where our resources are also needed. And but you're getting down to the basics. I mean, I don't know any country that does not have borders. Especially if it's the richest country in the world, you don't have a richest building or a richest house in the world with the doors open saying anybody who wants to, thieves, criminals, poor people, come on in, eat from the refrigerator, we want to help you. It just makes no sense. You just don't do that. And trust me, I'm a refugee myself. My parents were refugees. I was a young man when I was a refugee, but it was done legally. And there are venues into the United States that always have worked, more or less, maybe not fair to everyone, but it worked. It worked for me. Our country is based on refugees. This is what America is all about. But to have open borders and letting everybody unvented, we had from evacuation from Afghanistan, we have now identified over 60 terrorists that came into our country, and we don't know where they are. And now there's drug cartels. There are many bad people coming into the United States, and the crimes are committed. One guy just was in a shooting with the police. He was deported 9 times. 9 times he was deported. So there's a lot of problems, but it has to be regulated. You have to have borders. You cannot not have borders because you want to help unfortunate people. You end up harming everyone, not helping anyone. And, and Poland is one country that gets blamed more than anyone else for having closed borders, but yet you have law and order in the country that way because it is controlled. You cannot have anything that is not controlled. You see those poor people, they drown, they get mugged, they get killed. There is white slavery, there's prostitution, there's a lot of crime going on among those people because criminals take advantage of it, and they take advantage everywhere, including in New York. Because people trying to protect themselves from those immigrants. There are people that try to mug them. They try to mug those people. It causes a lot of tension. And New York is overwhelmed. They're being invaded, as they say now. Right now, they're the ones that said, "Come on in, we'll take anybody." And now, it's like anything else. It's an abuse.
The criminal aspect is a very serious matter when it comes to illegal migration. But moving on to the elections, which is obviously a big part of what's coming up for the U.S., the immigration crisis, how can the Republicans take advantage of this? Because obviously they will, but how can they possibly solve this immigration crisis in a practical matter? And to what extent can the Democrats possibly use this crisis as a pawn in their favor?
Well, they're both going to be using it in their favor. The Democrats are going to use that in their favor because they're saying that the illegal immigrants or unregistered immigrants and non-citizens that are in the United States can vote. They don't need an ID to vote. So these people, of course, are going to vote for those that brought them in because they want their families to come in, they want their friends to come in. So Democrats will get the votes this way. The Republicans probably, again, this is my just personal thoughts, I'm not an expert. The Republicans will probably use it. They're saying, look, the Democrats are causing chaos and breaking our country, and our country is being invaded by the criminals, by the drug lords, by all these people, and it's out of control. And we're all
So the
suffering.
Republicans will have to offer something, right?
I'm sorry?
The Republicans would have to offer something, right, in terms of solving the issue. Can they?
My parents and I, we came in under the Democrats. It was President Carter who let us in, but it was done legally and it was done in order, and there was a system set up. There was a vetting system that was set up. Yes, we had to wait in a third country for about a year to come in, but it was an order. There was an order that people came in. There was a queue. You didn't get in. So how about if there are Polish people that want to immigrate to the United States for whatever reason they want to immigrate and do it legally? Well, they can't now because the queue line, the line has been broken. Or Ukrainian people who want to get away from the war, kids, women, older people. But they can't because our system is overwhelmed. So the people who want to do it legally, now they can't do it because the quotas are filled and we can't do it. We can't absorb everyone. And but the people who came in illegally, who broke in, that cut into the line, they came in and they're going to get all the benefits and all those things. So it's not a very good system, and it encourages crime. Meaning you come into the country illegally. Illegally, when you do something illegally, it's criminal. You're breaking the law. Indeed. So it encourages break the law through the southern border.
We're going to have to park our conversation there. Thank you very much for your time, Gary. Great speaking to you.
Bye-bye.
And that was World News Tonight. Thank you very much for joining us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World.